This call happens the first and third Friday of each week. And the purpose of this call is for people that are committed to growing their mindset and their skill set as real estate sales professionals, although we know that skill sets are transferable. So a lot of the things that we talk about on this call can be applied and help in a personal context as well. And so the history of how these calls came about, I always like to share because they've been going on for several years now. And that is that my late husband, Rick Jiha, who many of you know, was an incredible agent and really an icon in the industry for the 43 years that he devoted to his career in real estate. And he was always the first person to reach his hand out that really wanted to help anyone and everyone. And he traveled a lot and he spoke on different stages around the world. And he would always say, give out his cell phone number and say, if you ever need anything, I don't care what it is, anything at all, you call me and I will help you. And so people would call, and that got to be a little bit of a capacity issue. And so he had the idea to begin this call that could be a one-to-many conversation where he'd be able to get friends and colleagues together to really keep learning, keep growing, and do that as a collective community. And so this call is company agnostic. It is not for anyone's specific brand or company. It's really agents that are committed to continuing to skill up and want to be in a community of people that are doing that together. And so, my goodness, October will be 3 years since he passed, and we decided that we were going to keep it going as part of his legacy, but also a commitment to the community of friends and colleagues that we have really all across the world over the years. And so, yes, we do miss Rick. I miss him a lot. And so I just had the opportunity to be at a real estate event in Hawaii earlier this week, and it's crazy. No matter where I go, there's people that come up to me and either knew him or were impacted by him in some way and have stories to share. And so the reason why I share that with you is never underestimate the difference that one person can make. Never underestimate the difference that you can make. And on the topic for our call today and the person that we're going to have on the call today, and when I look at just, if we're looking at Rick as an example, one of the things that he did really, really well was create relationships, bring value to relationships, and was somebody that really wanted to help people. And so, for those of you that are seeing wild success in your real estate careers, you're helping people at a really high level. There's an author by the name of Dr. John DeMartini, who's one of my favorites I love. And he said the way that you create wealth is by having a business that serves ever and ever greater numbers of people. And so the more people that you serve, the more business that you do. And so we're really here in the context of service and excited for today. This particular person that we're going to have on the call today as we pivot, because I'm going to make a quick pivot now. I remember the first time that I experienced her, it was actually on a large stage and she was speaking to, well, thousands of people. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, she's really got her feet in her shoes, so to speak. She was super grounded, super authentic. Sometimes I experience people on stage like they want the limelight and they want to be on stage. And that was not my experience of her at all. My experience of her was that she had earned and deserved to be on stage because of what she was doing. And she was on stage in a place of contribution, not ego or building herself. And that to me really impressed me because I don't always see that. And I've been around a lot and been to events over the past 30 years as an entrepreneur in real estate and other industries where that is unique. And so immediately, even though I was sitting in a large crowd, I felt very connected to her personally. And over the course of time, have had the opportunity to get to know her a little bit better. For those of you that don't know her, that may be meeting her for the first time, she's definitely a key voice in our industry. She's the VP of Industry Relations at eXp Realty. She's Housing Wire's 2024 Women of Influence, 2025 Inman Power Player. She's a licensed attorney and real estate leader with over 15 years of experience in the business. To me, though, she's my friend, Kendall Bonner, and I'm so grateful for her and who she is, former VP at eXp. Correction. So, Kendall, thank you so much for being willing to be with us this morning, and I'm excited to have you on the call.
Oh my gosh, Casey, it is such an honor to be here. And hello, everyone. So great to see you all and get exposed to you. And thank you, Casey, for the kind words. truly an honor and truly a privilege to be able to share what I've learned with others. And that is exactly what it's about for me. So thank you for acknowledging that. And thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So the we're going to talk about, and here's what I would invite for those of you that are able to and willing. It's probably more of willing than able that are willing to come on camera. We don't care what you look like, where you are, what you have going on. I find that as somebody that's done a lot of Zoom calls and been in this setting a lot, that it is as a speaker and somebody that's here to share, it is a totally different experience to be able to do that to live people versus frozen boxes of whatever, even if they have cool things that are inspirational, like that say you are beautiful, which I see someone has that on one of our screen tiles today. So I want to welcome everyone that can and is willing to come on video for the conversation. As we jump in, before we jump into the topic today, which is relevant for every single person here, because you are a brand, you have a brand. And the question now becomes, how do you expand that footprint to have influence that then translate to business for you? So this is a really relevant topic for everyone. But before we jump into that, Kendall, I would love to go back 15 years before you were in the real estate industry. What were you doing? And out of all the things that you could choose to do, why did you end up in real estate?
Thank you. Gosh, I'll do my best to make this story as short as possible because it is kind of a crazy evolution. So I joke and say I'm going to start back in high school. When I was in high school in the 90s, my mom told me JD, MD, PhD, pick one. I had said I wanted to be a teacher. She said, think again because they don't make any money. So I ended up in law school after college, and I graduated law school at 24 years old back in 2003. And so I have been a Florida licensed attorney since that time, so 23 years now. While I was in law school, my joke was because I didn't actually want to be a lawyer at that time. My joke was I was just there for my MRS degree. And the point of that is to tell you be careful what you say out loud because I got married on Saturday, graduated law school on Sunday, and by Tuesday, I was in the car moving to Florida to start my life. So, um, oh no, you're 1 year old. Oh, I'm old enough to be your mom. Thanks. I appreciate that information. Um, I'm teasing, but totally cool. I have lots of those people in my life. Anyway, I started practicing law when I got out of law school, graduated, moved to Florida with my husband. I thought I was going to go back to college or back to graduate school and get a PhD. Because remember, I said I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought, oh, I'll outsmart my mother and I'll be a professor or something like that. And my mom and my husband conspired against me and said, no, you have student debt. You need to go practice law. So I actually practiced law. If you watch the legal shows, like the objection, the trial, I did all of that. I did trial work. I picked juries. I worked in state court. I actually ended up at the end of my legal part of my career. I was in bankruptcy. So that's federal court. So I did it all and traveled all over state of Florida and was pretty good at it. I just didn't love it. It wasn't my passion. And what happened at the same time was my mother got sick. My mother was a doctor and she ended up with dementia in her 50s. And my mom passed away at 60 years old. And I was her caregiver through all of that, right? Everything. I took care of my mother. And that taught me a few things. And one of the biggest lessons that came out of that experience of caring for my mother in her 50s, friends, like she was very young to no longer have a life, right? And it taught me that, wow, all those dreams, ideas, things that I said, oh, when I retire, I'll do this. When I hit this age, I'll do that. Like I'm too young. I was in my 30s and in this whole hustle culture, and I was doing a career that in my mind, I didn't choose. And I said, what am I doing? I should find things I'm passionate about and things I'm good at and things I enjoy. And so I had this little inkling to get my real estate license because I thought I liked looking at homes. Um, thought I would do it part-time. And so in 2011, I got my real estate license. and I never looked back. And it was the best decision for me, especially at that time. I fell in love with real estate. My career started as a listing agent. My first transaction, my first client, my first appointment, they were all listings. I did a lot of short sales back then. This was 2011. And within 3 years, I was recruited to start a franchise. So I was a Remax broker owner for almost 10 years. And then I started a team. Like 2020 happened and wore me out. In 2021, I started a real estate team here in Tampa, transitioned as a team leader, and built that team up from scratch. So I built my brokerage from scratch, sold it, and then I built a team up from scratch, and I've leveraged myself out of that. Someone else runs the team now. And that freed me up to go be the VP of Industry Relations and Strategic Partnerships at EXP for a year and a half. I was Leo's first hire once he became CEO of that company. And then I've since retired, I jokingly say, from that position back into entrepreneurship where my heart really is. And honestly, my heart too is really about you all, right? Like I had been praying to God, asking God, like, how can I make an impact in this industry that has changed my life? Like, how can I better serve others in ways that like truly push them into the realm and into the goals that they have for their business and for their life? Because I will tell you, one of the things that breaks my heart the most is agents who are struggling in this business. This business changed my life. So I know its potential. I know its power. I know the leverage and the legacy it can leave for us. And so every time I see agents who are struggling or inconsistent or wanting to get to whatever that next level is, because I feel like I've experienced almost all of them. You know, I've been the listing agent, I've been the team leader, I've been the broker, I've been the executive in a major company, I've been on big stages. And now I want to help others who want to duplicate any one of those things. Don't try and do them all. You don't have to do them all. But if you want to do any one of those things, if I can support you in that, I'm looking to do that. So that's what brings me to today.
I love that. And I'm so grateful you said yes to being on this call because I had no idea about the backstory. And oh, my heart goes out for you for the experience with your mom, and particularly at such a young age. However, I champion the courage because sometimes when those kind of big things happen in life, we look at time differently. I'm speaking for myself. I look at time differently and go like, where do I really want to be investing my time? What's important to me? Where's the impact that I want to make? Versus sometimes what happens, I think, for a lot of us is the expectations of family or culture or others that we're living up to or into from, in some way, shape, or form, because that's what we've always done, or that's just how it's been. And so I applaud your courage for at a pivotal time going, nope, I'm going to completely reinvent myself, right? And then true to who you are in everything that you do, it's like, how am I going to be the best that I can be and help and serve and take that as far as is possible to take it. And so I love that things have kind of come full circle into this conversation and based on such a, beautiful background of experience. Like you're not talking about things that you've learned about, you're talking about things that you've done. And so you know firsthand what it's like to be in the experience of that and then also navigate through to different layers and levels of growth. And I think that's really important from a being and then showing up to contribute freely and share and be like, hey, you know what? Different things are going to hit different people at different times depending on where they're at. And regardless of what that is, you've been there and done that at some level and are here now in a new space, not new, but in a different space than previously, and using all of the things that I'm sure you learned along the way to make it
Like
yours and your style and your way.
a
I
hundred
had
percent.
I had the pleasure of seeing how many of you, just by show of hands, were at the LA event a couple of weeks ago where Kendall spoke. Was I the only one there? So Kendall was the opening speaker at that industry event, and one of the things that struck me was the topic that she chose to speak about, was based totally in human performance and how our brains work, the neuroplasticity aspect of the brains, how we create change, and the difference between knowing what there is to do and actually executing what there is to do and bridging that gap. And so, one of the things why I was so excited to have you and am so excited to have you on the call today is there's a lot of people that talk about systems and scaling and doing more, more, more. However, none of those things get executed unless the humans dialed in. And they may get executed, however, not very, they'll get executed to the extent that the humans dialed in. And so I love that you bring that full circle, inside out, outside in approach to everything that you do. Okay, so where do you want to start our conversation for today?
Actually, can I talk about that a little bit? Because I'd love to kind of give people, especially if the people on this call were not in that room, I think it's such an important conversation. So, Casey mentioned something. She said two things that I think I would love to kind of bridge for all of you guys. She talked about my courage and my willingness to like reinvent myself. And all of us are doing stuff like that every single day, or we're avoiding stuff like that every single day, right? And so I want to talk to you about what's happening and why, and give you, hopefully empower you to behave bravely and courageously yourself. Because a lot of people think like, oh, that'll never be me. I can't do that. Like we convince ourselves of these stories. And I want to tell you where that's coming from. So I have reinvented myself many times. Now, I will say this as I like, because I went from lawyer to real estate professional, reinvented to a broker, reinvented to a team leader, reinvented into an executive, reinvented and back into entrepreneurship. And each one of those phases arguably required some level of courage or bravery, and I tell people that there is no courage or bravery without fear. So do not think that I was fearless as I made these choices. Of course, there is some level of fear within me. I've just chosen, like, I wear this bracelet every day and it says faith over fear, right? Like, I believe that I can do things even though I'm afraid. And I believe, honestly, what I say to myself every single day, because I do stuff all the time that shocks myself, is it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. Like, for example, I asked my husband out on our first date, and he was a stranger. We weren't even friends, right? We had just met, and a friend introduced us. We sat in class together, and I thought he was kind of cute, and I was just coming off of a rebound. And so really there were no signs, there are signals. There was no time for that, for us to even flirt, for me to think like this man would be remotely interested in me. And yet here we are. We won't go on our first date. We are engaged 5 months later, 6 months later, married 5 months after that. So 11-month courtship. And now we've been married 23 years, right? So again, if I had allowed my fear, doubt, and uncertainty, which I had all of that to get in the way, I I could have missed out on a beautiful marriage, two amazing kids, who are now in college, things like that. But let me talk to you about what's happening in your brain. There's this thing called schema, and schema is part of your brain's ability to recognize patterns. Let me give you a very soft example. How many of us have driven home from somewhere and you don't remember how you got home? Right? Like it's a consistent place that you do over and over and over again, right? Well, that is your brain doing its job, right? We get hit with so much information every single day that your brain has to create file cabinets. It has to create categories. It has to recognize patterns so that it can assist you in processing everything that's happening every single day. And so when things are exactly what you think them to be, it moves right past that. It doesn't even alert you, right? And so what happens though is that your brain has also recognized patterns about yourself, right? And so what happens is that pattern recognition is designed to protect you, to keep you safe. It's like when you learn, if you're a kid, not to touch a hot stove, you do it the one time and then you never do it again because your brain recognizes that that's not safe, right? And so when we're building identities and we're building self-perception, our brain has recognizes patterns and recognizes opportunities and things that feel safe versus things that feel unsafe or uncomfortable, right? And so when we're thinking about change in our life, when we're thinking about doing something that is not what we would normally do or normally expect of ourselves, Our brain naturally wants to protect us and block us from doing it. So if you've ever found that there was something that you were trying to evolve into, or you thought you wanted, or you think you want, but for some reason it's just not hitting, there's nothing wrong with you at all. It's just your brain's protecting you. That's why we have things like self-sabotage and risk avoidance and things of that nature. So it's in those uncomfortable moments that you get confronted with the opportunity to grow past it or to not. And so every day you're being confronted with these opportunities to be uncomfortable and start to move into this new phase of yourself, because those are not stop signs when something feels, you're doing it, it's like, right? And you feel that anxiousness around it. That's not a stop sign. That just is a signal that you're getting close to this next evolution of yourself. So I just want to encourage you, as you feel those moments and you feel that fear or anxiety kind of pop up, like, oh my God, am I really doing this? It's okay. It's going to be okay. Keep moving forward. Keep stepping forward. Like that's the best thing that you can do as opposed to stepping backwards. And I think like that was somewhere along the way I learned that it was okay to keep moving forward even when I'm scared. And in fact, I've taught myself that when I'm scared, that's exactly when I need to keep going. And so that's really been a power move for me to keep me moving in the direction. Because you're right, Casey, when I left my job at EXP, I left a really good salary, stability, insurance. And when I left, I wasn't even quite sure what I was leaving to go do. I was like, I had some ideas. People kept asking me, like, oh, are you taking a new job? And I was like, nope, I'm not going anywhere, not taking a new job somewhere else. There's no better, quote, opportunity that I'm leaving this for. I'm leaving it because I feel called to do something different.
I
And
love it.
I hadn't quite figured out what it is yet, but I eventually, like, I had some ideas. And then as I sat with it and I gave myself space for that, it revealed itself to me. And now here we are about 6 months later, and I have so many great, exciting things happening in my life that had I not opened up space for myself to do those things, I wouldn't be here today with this message and with this story and this evidence or this testimony that each of you have the power to do that for yourself as well.
I love that. And one of the things that I really love about what you just shared is that it never goes away. And I think sometimes what we can think is like, oh, we'll see someone speaking on stage, or you're here obviously very well spoken on this call, and we'll be like, well, she's not me. It's not the same for her as it is for me. She doesn't go through what I go through, and the truth is we all do. It's just a matter of if we choose to navigate it and move through it, or we choose to sit in it and let it hold us back. And so it's the same for me. It never goes away. And people think I don't have it, and it's like, "Oh, I have it. I just don't talk about it because I'm constantly moving through it, right? Where you put energy, whatever you focus on expands. What do I want to expand? I want to expand what I want to create, not what I don't want, which is that feeling that I don't like having before I'm doing something that's courageous, which is quite often, right? So let's jump into, and I love because that lays the groundwork from a mindset perspective and from an how we look at at that aspect of being human, the lens that we choose to look at it through. Instead of a signal to stop, it's a signal to keep going, like I'm on the right track. And so, for our topic today around building industry influence and credibility, this topic is so important from individual agent all the way up to someone that's going to grow a sales team or perhaps have their own anything at any point. And so let's jump in on that and what you've seen. And yeah, where do you want to start that aspect of the conversation?
Yeah, so I would start with this. Have any of you ever, I mean, well, let's talk about this. You got into real estate to do what? Tell me in the chat. Why did you get into real estate? I know why I got in, but we all got in for, I would say, different and similar reasons. But okay, branding, financial freedom, okay, career move. I see that. You know, we all get in for different reasons, but typically it's because we feel called, right? And one of the reasons why we feel success, or we want success in our life is because, you know, it brings all these different opportunities our way. And I just want to say this, when it comes to a business like this, a lot of us enjoy serving and helping others and making an impact, right? And we want to make a living while doing that, right? And so part of what I wanted to share with people is how to articulate that contribution, right? How to articulate that what you've learned and experienced and what you now know and the knowledge you've accumulated by whether it's getting your license or serving a bunch of clients, and like how do you take that into the next level for yourself and for others. And so I have been truly blessed with the opportunity to move from what I refer to as a personal brand into what I now have recognized as an industry brand, and all the doors that's opened for me, in addition to the skill sets I've gained as a result of it, right? I was saying on my team, you know, we want to have the best mindset, skill set, tool set, right? And when it comes to having skill sets, one of the most valuable skill sets that we have as real estate professionals is communicator. Would we agree? Like that is one of the skill sets we have to improve every single day. And when it comes to communicating, we have it's a couple of different pieces to it. Number one, it's about being a good listener. I think that's the number one skill of being a communicator is being a great listener, so that you understand who your audience is, whether it's a single person, your audience is an audience of one or an audience of many. And so one of the things that I've learned is how to move from conversations one to one to many. And I think like that is a huge part of a missing link for some of us. We are really good one to one. We're missing all the pieces from one to many. And so by doing public speaking and professional speaking, it has really improved my skill set when it comes to communicating to many people, whether that's in print, online, or verbally, or in person. And so I and growing my industry brand, a lot of people have this aspiration. And I don't know, is there anyone on this call who has an aspiration to contribute to the industry, for example? Is there anyone in the call? Tell me in the chat. Give me a one in the chat if you are someone that's like, hey, I would love to share my knowledge, what all the lessons I've learned. Because so many of you guys have lessons and experience that you have learned that other real estate professionals could learn from you. And but we have to remember, like, there's a process for building that skill set and building those opportunities when you're talking one from consumers, you're moving away from talking to consumers and back to your colleagues, right? So one of the best ways I did that was getting in rooms of my colleagues, right? From small groups to large groups. And I'd love to share some of the things that if you're looking to contribute and do some of that, how you can get there. Is that good with you, Casey, if I share some of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're looking to take your experience and turn it into contribution, there's a couple of things that you'll need. And especially if you've already, has anyone in this call outside of Casey, because I've heard her speak, she's amazing. Have any of you done any public speaking, whether it's to an association, to a large group? Again, give me a two in the chat this time. Give me a two in the chat if you've done public speaking before. Um, okay, good. Oh, yay. So we've got several people who have done that. That's awesome. And how did that make you feel? Give me a three in the chat if you felt extreme nerves doing this. And then give me a 10 if you're like, I got this. It was perfect. I had no problems. I'm probably not going to be any 10s. Okay. Oh, we got a 110. That's awesome. Some people know it, have done this so many times. They've got it. But most people struggle, right? And and then those of you who've done great with it and enjoy it, you're probably wondering, how do I do more of it? Anybody would like to know how do I do more of it? Put a one in the chat if you'd like to do more of it. Give me some ones. Okay. So if you enjoy the public speaking piece and you want to do more of it and you're wondering, like, how do I do that? What do I need to do? Well, part of it is I call it, it's a credibility issue that you may have if you're not on as many stages currently as you would like to be on. And let me tell you why that is. So the first thing you need, I call it the credibility gap. You need three credibilities to be on stages, right? And I have been blessed to be on Inman every year since 2020. They're New York and they're Vegas and LA state or San Diego stage now. IRS Media, and been on their stages many, many times. And The Gathering, the Housing Wire. If you don't know who those three entities are, I joke they're the real estate news. Like you have Fox, MSNBC, and CNN, right? They're the MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News of real estate, those three entities. I've been on all three of their stages many times over the last 5 years. In fact, I've been blessed to have been on hundreds of stages at this point in my career, and I've learned these things. So it's the credibility gap. Let me give you the three credibilities that you need if you want to move from having a personal brand to an industry brand. Which having an industry brand is what, like for example, I have the Kendall Bonner team in Tampa, and I don't sell a house on the Kendall Bonner team, but my brand itself carries so much weight that it funds the team with leads and opportunities. I'll stop there, Casey, before I get into the three credibilities. What's up?
That is exactly what I wanted to anchor because there may be some people checking out right now going, well, I don't want to speak on stages and I don't want to be in front of rooms or in front of groups of people. But I want to bring it back to your job as a real estate agent is that you are a lead generator. If you do not generate leads, you're buying them and you're doing double to triple the work for a fraction of the money. And so I love that you're going this direction with it because if somebody's not thinking in that space right now, like as an individual agent, this is a really important conversation because your ability to create influence in these larger conversations is what makes you the rainmaker for your business, whether that's if you don't have a team or if you do have a team and you're bringing business to the team. So I love that you're anchoring that. And before anyone may tend to check out because they're like, well, I don't want to speak or be on stages, stay in the conversation because you do want to generate leads and you do want to do more business or you wouldn't be on this call. All right, back
Yeah,
to
and
you, Kendall.
thank you, Casey. And I have a part two to that too. So yeah, if you, regardless of whether you've been on stage, I have two things I want to talk about today. Between the two of them, you will want to be for the second thing. So when it comes, and I will say this also, consumers like working with people who they identify as experts. And guess who are the people who are considered on stages? They're considered experts. So, and you don't have to be on the Inman stage. Like I just did a class for the Sarasota Association of Realtors. It's an association just south of me. And they paid me to come speak to their agents. You know, I get to share that with and notate that on my bio. So when consumers are looking at my profile, they get to see like, oh, she's an expert who trains the realtors. Of course, I want to work with someone who's, gets to be in that space. So even if it's not your aspiration today, it does have that tie back to consumers. No matter the size of the stage, you can promote this. So the three credibilities. Are you guys ready for the three credibilities? Give me a one in the chat if you want some credibility understanding or how you get on these stages. So the first credibility that you must have when you are trying to grow your brand is what I'm going to refer to as street credibility. Okay. You have to have the street cred. Now, what does street cred look like? Street cred, it depends on what you're talking about, right? But if it's, let's say it's real estate, sales, and transactions, you need the street credibility of having some transactions. If you are speaking about life and identity or coaching or things like that, you got to have some street cred behind that. So I only like, or if you're on social media and you want to talk about, you've done some stuff in social media. So you want to have that street credibility. That's step number one. That I can't do anything for you. That's you either have it or you don't, right? But you do have it. Everyone has street cred to a degree, depending on the topic that they're talking about. The second credibility you need is performance credibility. You have to think about these event organizers. These are people who are booking the stages. You have to start to get into their mindset. What are they looking for? I'm going to tell you what they want. They want someone they can trust their audience with. They want someone that their audience will relate to. And the story, the message, the lesson is relatable to the audience. So I just want to caution you for those of you that are thinking about stage time and like, look at me, it's about me. I'm going to tell you that's probably the wrong mindset. That is not going to get you on as many stages as you think. And in fact, it might get you on the first one and it will not get you a repeat invitation because the audience matters. What are the lessons that they're going to be able to take away from that, right? That experience. So they're looking that for performance credibility, which means that you are a contributor, you have a core message and a lesson that supports that audience, right? And so that's what they're looking for there. And then number two, you need what I refer to as referral credibility, i.e., and this comes in two parts. This means number one, someone has vouched for you. Typically, you want someone who's seen you speak before recommend you. That's normally how you get invitations onto some larger stages. A lot of people think like, oh, I just emailed them and I have to go hunt stage time. You can do that. And that's just a little harder if you don't have the referral credibility to go with it, which usually comes from performance credibility. And then the second piece to referral credibility is you've got to have the signals that say, hey, I want to speak because they are out there doing research and development. They're looking for speakers every single day, right? But there's tons of conferences in and out of our industry that you could be contributing to, right? That are looking for you to share your message, your story, and and they're looking for your contribution. But how do they know you're out there? Are you posting video content? Are you sharing your message online so that people can see it and research it? Things of that nature, right? So you want to build some credibilities there in order to help you signal to these event organizers that you are interested in professional speaking. I would also say to you, as you're thinking about this, I would say start small. My first speaking opportunity was really a training. I was a lawyer. My brokerage was like, hey, you understand real estate contracts better than anybody we know because I was trained on that. And I just started training in my own brokerage. And I started there. And so I started getting comfortable sharing what I knew, coaching people through how to move through the contracts, right? So don't think you have to go from 0 to 100. Another place you can start is webinars with your own client base, right? You can be doing webinars and speaking around buying your first home, being not just first time home buyers, but first generation home buyers, right? There are audiences for all of it. You just have to figure out what you want to say and who you're looking to say it to. Now, I don't want to, we don't have enough time, but I hope Casey doesn't mind, but on Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, I am doing a whole 1 hour free webinar on moving your brand so we're going to talk about what I talked about today and more. But for the sake of time, because I want to move on to the other topic too, which I think is super exciting for you guys, I'm going to put the link to the webinar in the class. But if you really want to go deeper on growing your brand and getting on more stages, go to that class. I'm going to deep dive into what that looks like and how to do that and give you some tips and advice, even more than what I just talked about right now, of course, because that's a whole hour. And this we have, 10, 20 minutes on each topic. So if you really are interested, I love that so many of you guys are, definitely sign up for that class. And I will see you on Monday night for that. So I want to move on for those people who are like not here for that.
Well, I love that. And first off, I think there's so much in what you did say before we do move on. In those three credibilities is because if you want to sell more real estate, I mean, we know it's not a news flash to anyone. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so your personal results are that credibility, right? And then it is important that I think about all of the things of the doors that have been opened for me that I've walked through, they have come from somebody else recommending me. Like I have never asked to be on a stage ever.
Right.
And I've
Yep,
been
me
on them
either.
all over the world. And this is what happens when you develop your own results and people see those results. And then you also establish relationships within your industry of other people that then know your story and know your results, and that's how doors get opened, right? So there's the agent to consumer conversation, but then there's the agent to agent conversation, and credibility amongst colleagues is huge because of number one, we're all in the same industry. Number two, the doors that has the potential to open as a result of that. And then being somebody that I think that what you mentioned about that other credibility about being somebody you can trust from stage. Like I've been in events where I just know the event organizer was cringing based on what happened because it was a me show and they were there to promote me and sell me and talk about me. And it's like, what happened to the audience in that? And you could just
Yeah.
feel the energy in the room, or I could feel the energy in the room. And then someone who shows up from a space of contribution and value and really like, hey, it's a, it's not a right to be on this stage. It's a privilege to be asked to be here. And as a result, I have a huge responsibility because I'm in a position to impact people's lives and businesses. And you can tell the people that step on stage in that context. And so those are really important things to put some language around because it brings a greater level of awareness and really things to focus on moving forward. So, okay, let's pivot into the second aspect, which I know you're excited to talk about as well. And thank you for
Uh,
sharing the information for Monday night. I grabbed the link.
Thank So the other thing, so remember I talked to you guys about earlier, like I felt called to make a industry impact. So one of those businesses that got started was, my speaker coaching and education program, right? But the other thing that came out of that is this right here. I wrote a book called The Motivated Mover Method. And like I said earlier, and I want to just talk to you guys about this, like what the book is. It doesn't even launch until May 5th, but I feel like the concepts in there are so unique. No one's talking about them. And so I just wanted to kind of share because not that you have to go buy the book, but if you just reframe your thinking about marketing, it could really change your business, right? So most people, have any of you on this call ever had a dry season in your real estate business? Put a one in the chat if you've ever had a month or a time in your real estate career where you were like, oh man, I don't have as many pendings as I would like right now. And everyone should have a one because that's typical for all of us. And I want to talk to you about the reason why I think that that's happening. Because I don't think you're a bad agent. I don't think you're lazy. I don't think that you are not working very hard at your career, right? I know you are. I've been in the trenches with you. I know exactly what your day to day looks like. And this is what I've learned because how I started my business versus how I was coached in my business. When I've had multiple coaches throughout my career. The very first coach I had and paid for, some of you guys might know who he is, some of you might not, but his name was Mike Ferry. Put a two in the chat if you know who Mike Ferry is, because there might only be a few of you. That this is Tom Ferry's father. Okay. So if you heard of Tom Ferry, you've heard of Mike Ferry because that's his dad. And so I coach with Mike Ferry, and this is what most coaches teach. How do you get into this business? What do they teach you to do? Open houses. And you can put it in the chat. You can say it along with me. How do you lead generate? You do open houses. You call for sell by owners. You call expireds. You call your sphere of influence. You post on social media, which I think is a tool, not a strategy, by the way. You are also told to door knock, maybe like you go buy leads or you do some sort of purchase of leads, right? But here's the thing, that is red ocean because everybody's being taught to do the same thing at the same time. So you are swimming in the most competitive market ever, which is why your efforts have to be 10x as opposed to, 2x, right? Like that's why it feels so hard is because we're all competing for the same. Let me give you an example. Someone posts on Facebook, I'm thinking about moving to Tampa. What happens to the chat? I mean, there's like 50 real estate professionals who are all like, pick me, right? Let me tell you a truth. Your current marketing right now says, I'm looking for buyers and sellers. That's essentially what your current marketing says. Guess what? Buyers and sellers do not self-identify as buyers and sellers until we give them that name. When they're before they ever decide to transact, they have not decided to be buyers and sellers yet. What's actually happening is what I refer to as the data Ds. Life is happening, i.e., people are experiencing events in their world that are going to result in real estate transactions. How many of you would like to find those people before they have posted in social media that they're looking to buy or sell, or before they've gone into Zillow and Realtor.com to start searching for houses? Put a 2 in the chat if you want to find people before they get there, because that is the blue ocean. I want to tell you about how to find clients in the blue ocean. So, for example, um, your clients are not leads, they're lives in motion. So, stop thinking of them as leads, they are lives in motion. So, I have this, someone taught this to me, Data Ds. And I'll never forget this white paper. It was a great white paper. And this was many, many years ago. And uh, he triggered something for me because I identified what I would did starting my career versus what I was taught. So, for example, right now, remember I told you you are all doing marketing that says you're looking for buyers and sellers. Like, hey, do you know anyone that needs to buy or sell a house? Or hey, this listing just came on the market. Are you looking to buy? Right? Very high level marketing. But this is a problem. When you market to everyone, you market to no one. Let me prove it to you. Think about your current Instagram feed. When you're scrolling through your Instagram feed, do you realize your Instagram feed looks completely different from mine? Completely different. I look at my husband's Instagram feed and I'm like, what are you looking at? Like I crack up at it because it looks so crazily different from my Instagram feed. Let me tell you what the secret is. We have to stop looking at marketing the way real estate industry has taught us to look at marketing and start looking at it through the lens of other industries. Other industries are way better at this than we are, even though this is one of our primary responsibilities. Would you agree marketing is one of our number one responsibilities outside of like negotiate, marketing is one at the top, right? Well, I feel like we are marketing incorrectly. And why is that? Because when you look at your Instagram feed, what is it about your Instagram feed? Number one, it is relevant and it is convenient. And why is it relevant and convenient? Because it speaks to you. So, for example, when I see ads about, skincare, I'm all over it. Or stretching and mobility because I'm getting old, I'm all over it. I'm looking at Colin. He probably could, probably not what he's looking at, right? He doesn't care about women's weight loss and skincare and mobility, right? Like that's probably not your jam, Colin.
But
But
maybe
for
it
me,
is. That's fun to look at. I mean,
I
let's
don't
be
know.
honest.
I'm guessing. I'm totally making this up. I'm not trying to offend anybody. But like my point is all of our feeds look different based on what is interesting to us. So when you post about buying and selling, you're trying to talk to buyers and sellers who haven't self-identified yet as buyers and sellers. But when you do something where it is relevant to them, when it is convenient for them, that is when they stop to scroll and pay attention. So let me give you some examples. This concept called data Ds. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've heard of data Ds, a number 2 if you've never heard that concept before ever. 1 if you have heard of it, 2 if you have not. Okay, that's what I expect. Most people have not heard of it. So data Ds are basically, I'll tell you exactly what they are. These are life events that can be tracked through information, right? So let me give you an example. Divorce, diapers, diamonds, uh, I say diagnosis or dumpster. I've come up with 14. The list prior that I've ever seen was probably 9. I've come up with 14. Downsizing, absolutely. Diplomas, right? These are all data Ds. These are things that happen in people's life that cause people to need to move. For example, when there's a divorce, there's very high likelihood that somebody is moving out of that house, if not both people. And sometimes it's as many as 3 transactions. Oftentimes it's a minimum of 1. Do you guys know, like I did this research. I asked ChatGPT, I said, how many divorces happen in the country every year? Right. So I said deaths. Oh, for example, I said, how many deaths? 3 million deaths happen in the year. per day. That's 84 to 8,500 per day, 6 per minute. Babies born, these are diapers. 3.63 million babies are born every year. 99 to
Because I don't
10.
want to have to back in. Okay. I'm on it.
Uh-oh. Um, I asked it, how many foreclosure filings? That's debt or default, right? Default is one of the D's. There are 365 or 67,000 foreclosure filings in 2025, right? So that's 900 to 1,000 per day in our country, right? 40 per hour. So then I asked it, tell me how many in Tampa, because that's where I am, right? And it gave me this summary. 100 babies are born a day in Tampa. 95 people die a day in Tampa. 20 divorces are filed a day in Tampa, and at least 10 foreclosures or pre-foreclosure filings a day. I don't need to farm all four of those. I can pick one. And if I just captured 1% a month, I would be closing like more business than I could ever even imagine. Because what's happening right now, because you're marketing to everyone, therefore you're marketing to no one, you're having to market 20 times harder. Meaning you're talking to 1,000 people trying to find the 10 or 12 a year that you ultimately end up working with, right? More or less. Some of you are going to work with more, some less. But imagine if you talk to, and you're guessing of those 1,000 who might or might not, and everyone is at different phases in life, and they might not be experiencing a life event because you're dealing with people who might be curious about the market, not compelled to take action in the market. And I'm trying to get you to find the people that are already compelled so you can convert them into clients, right? So imagine now posting content that says, "Hey, are you growing a family right now and need more space? Is the 2 bedroom starter home that was so great pre-family is now too small and you need something bigger, right? When you need more space, or do you have blending families? Do you have, it depends on whatever you're talking about, right? Or hey, you have military PCS orders and you need to move. These are all reasons why people have to move. And so when you start to market to them, and then that person says, "Oh, that talks to me. My family is growing. I am getting married. I am dealing with an estate situation, i.e., a death. I am dealing with a divorce situation. My family's going through a difficult time right now. I am in a financial hardship with my home. I am dealing with a family member who's been diagnosed with the illness who no longer can live in their home." When you start marketing to their specific situation and you bring them true items of value, like, hey, here's 10 frequently asked questions for people who are going through a divorce situation. Where do you start? Now, with the help of ChatGPT and relationships and technology, you can provide this information to them. And now you're finding, I would rather talk to 100 people who I know are likely going to move in the next 12 to 18 months and find the 20 and work with them than trying to find the 20 in a group of 1,000 where I'm having to filter through and deal with rejection and all of those different things. Does that make sense? Tell me in the chat. Give me a 10 if that makes sense to you, what I've just said. I know it was a lot, but give me a 10 if you're like, I get it, what you're saying. I get what you're putting down, Kendall. I get what you're putting down. So that's what this book is about. So my aspiration is I want to see real estate professionals who are serious about this industry and about this career and making it something that produces the lifestyle and the financial means that they want for their family or themselves. That's what I want to see. And I felt like, man, no one's talking about this the way that we should or could. And this is an opportunity to um, bring some realization and some ahas and an opportunity for people to have a different kind of career than they ever believed. And again, I don't think you're lazy. I think you've just been marketing to the wrong audience. And when you change your audience, pipeline's going to increase because now you'll have that consistent pipeline of people ready to move.
I love that. It's so what I love about it is I had a coach one time that said, if everyone's going this direction, don't do that. Do something different. And that's exactly the concept that you're talking about, right? And it's about being strategic and it's about being intentional versus does Rick used to always say, everything works and nothing doesn't. And so pick something and do it. Okay, yes, that's the first thing. But then the second thing is like if we can be strategic and set ourselves apart and create the high level experience as an entrepreneur in the industry and then serve people at a higher level because we're being strategic and not necessarily doing what the masses are doing or being coached to do and serve people at a really high level. I love that you're creating a niche conversation about this. And so, as we wrap up the call, we've got the links that are in the chat to the Monday event. So, any of you that want to continue to develop that piece of the conversation or piece of yourself, be sure and grab that link out of the chat. We've got the link in the chat for the book. Thank you for sharing that, Kendall. And is there anything just in the last 30 seconds that we've got before the top of the hour that you would say to everyone in closing?
Yeah, I have a couple of favorite quotes. And thank you, Betty. I love that. The one of them is this. The Michael Cunningham said this in the book called The Road Less Stupid. I'm a big reader. I love writer. I was an English major. I'm a reader and a writer. And he said, the quality of your life is a direct reflection of what you make non-negotiable. And so I just want to say to you, the quality of your business is a direct reflection of what you make non-negotiable. The
Mhm.
quality of your health is a direct reflection of what you make non-negotiable. The quality of your relationships is a direct reflection of
Mhm.
what you make non-negotiable. So take time to discern for yourself what is truly non-negotiable for your life, your business, your relationships, your health, your personal growth and aspiration, and go forth, be brave, be courageous. Do not let your fear, doubt, or uncertainty stop you from being all that you can actually be and having the life you actually want to have, because it's just on the other side of a decision that you make today.
I love that. Nothing to add. Thank you. We appreciate you and love you. Everyone, make it a great Friday. The recording for this will be on the resources page of empirebuilders.pro, and it'll also get sent out to those of you there's over 900 people on the email list that request the recordings of these. So we'll look forward to having you back again in the future, Kendall. Congratulations on the launch of your book coming up and everything that you're doing. You're doing great things. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Casey. Thank you, everyone. You be blessed. Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Bye.